This is Newsday. Now, access to education remains a major concern, especially for a Nigerian population that is facing huge challenges of insecurity and economic downturn. At the moment, Nigeria is among the top 20 countries with more out-of-school children due to insecurity. In the case of Nigeria, the goals envisaged for all levels of education and the modalities for achieving these goals are by general agreement well articulated in the National Policy on Education 2004 as amended. But with government's inability to fund education the way it is designed, created and operated, it becomes a huge setback to the goals the system is expected to achieve. Well, joining us now is Titilolami Bello. She is the founder of Path to Possibilities, an educational charity with a goal to provide access to learning for underprivileged children in Nigeria from poor homes and backgrounds through the provision of scholarship. Titi, can I call you that? Thank you so much for joining us.
Please do.
Great. Let me begin by asking you, from what you do and what you see, what are the major gaps in ensuring that children in underserved communities actually get access to education?
So I think the main issue is the lack of funding for education of the masses. So from our work since 2009, what we find in the schools that we've been to in and around Lagos and outside of Lagos is that there is an acute lack of funding for basic infrastructure. So we've seen schools that haven't had running water for 50 years. We've seen schools that haven't had enough chairs for the children to sit in, no books, no libraries, and just poor resourcing. That is the main issue. And, you know, we've seen schools where there've been about 150 children in a classroom. That's the reality of what we're facing. So it's really an issue around funding.
It sounds like you're doing fantastic work, but I want to ask you, your foundation, your charity was started in 2009. What led you to founding this charity? Was it your personal experiences? Please tell us more.
I think it's a mixture of my own personal experiences and what I can see happening in and around Nigeria. So I grew up in a very poor family. I had the misfortune of my father dying when I was very young. I grew up similar to some of what we're seeing now on TV in those sorts of environments. And I only got an education because family and friends were able to support my mum to send us to school. I have been fortunate to then move to England, and it's just, for me, not to look back at where I come from and not to give back to where I come from is almost an unthinkable thing for me to do. So that is really one of my key drivers. It's my personal background. But more than that, it's what I see on the ground daily and every time I come to Nigeria, which is that gap. And I say so because for me it is something that is staunting or will continue to stunt the development in Nigeria. Without that without closing that gap, we are going to lose talent and we're going to not really realize our potential.
Okay, Titi, you do a lot. I'm just looking at your resume, so to speak. You hold a degree in law and a master's degree in public policy. And you're also working on your third master's in professional coaching. You're a certified nutritionist and an amateur bodybuilder as well. And you're also a fitness and wellness geek. Now, the fact that you have this hair range, natural hair range, your hair looks glorious, by the way. How do you marry all these qualities, achievements? How do you marry them so that you can end up doing what it seems motivates you the most, which is, you know, you want to give back to society?
I think even though I seem to have a lot of different hats on, I think what you will find is that there's an alignment in everything that I do. So I studied law, I studied public policy, which is one of the things that drove the starting of the charity. Now you mentioned the hair brand, which is relatively new for me. I started since 2019. You will find that 50p in everything that anybody buys from the brand goes to Path to Possibilities, the charity. I think you asked, you know, where do I find the time or the motivation? I think the motivation is always in the need That's what drives me. And obviously I have an amazing support network. The charity isn't run by just me. It's run by a board, and then we have volunteers that support. So I'm not the only person behind the charity.
And very quickly, even though education at the primary level in Nigeria is free and compulsory, we still have these millions of children out of school, and you're trying to get them back into school. Tell us how you're doing this, your foundation. What's the support like, and what sort of help would you need? Tell us.
So we sponsor children throughout their secondary school education. You're right in that at the primary level it's free. We see much more of a gap when it comes to moving children on to secondary school. So we offer a scholarship fund where the children sit our assessment. We can only take on the brightest children, and we sponsor them for the 6 years in which they're in school. We work with Caleb International School, and we work with Achievers College. But we also know that our resources are limited, and because of that, and because we want to make more of an impact, we established a resource center in 2017. This resource center is based in Ikota. It serves the local community, which is a slum community. So we have over 400 children every month using the resource center. The resource center has computers, it has a library, and children can access and use all these things for free. How can people support us? People can support us by making donations. People can support us by actually visiting the center. We always need people to offer training to the local community, to young people who are maybe applying for jobs. So, you know, people can support us with coming to deliver workshops on writing CVs. Or make a donation. Unfortunately,
we've got to move on. We're on a short schedule, but thank you very much. Titilolami Bello, thank you for joining us today here on Newsroom.